Senator Scott joins me now in an exclusive interview in Focus. First of all, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And I want to know what went through your mind as she was saying those words. Translate what you heard and why you felt, because it was very uncharacteristic to see you at times, just lean in so hard. Why'd you feel like you needed to do it?
I was compelled to do so, to be honest with you. I could not believe my ears. She was responding to a question, so it was completely unprepared, unfiltered, and her response was to, in my opinion, provide a calloused approach and a solution, a remedy for blacks living in poverty being abortion. And as a guy who was raised by a powerful, positive black woman in poverty, in a single-parent household, I know that sometimes broken places is where you find brilliance. I know that sometimes hard work and dedication and perseverance pays off handsomely. You and I both know that the truth of the story is the American journey continues to evolve in the right direction.
Yes.
And frankly, even Secretary Yellen's words should have been thought through much better, because less than 10% of the abortions are teenagers. And so to put the face of abortion being poor women making a choice so they can increase the labor force participation rate, it's just unbelievable.
And with what you gave, that statistic, it would be young black girls. I mean, and now you're telling me that fewer than 10% are even part of what she's describing.
The larger picture.
I wonder if she knows the facts on that.
Well, I gotta believe that she did, and unfortunately, it seems like whenever someone needs a poster child of brokenness, they go to African Americans, and that's not our story. Our story is a story of victory. Our story is a story of overcoming odds. Our story is, frankly, triumphing after tragic circumstances. That's the story of who we are, and it's a story that should be told, and should be told as a part of the American story, that we as Americans, we are the solution. We shouldn't have fewer Americans, we should have more Americans. You want to increase our labor force participation rate? Choose life.
All right, I want to get to this. You wrote in your op-ed about the Treasury Secretary, here's a quote, "We live in a world where words are too often disconnected from the lived experiences of many Americans. Yellen's cold and robotic reference to the issue of life is just the latest example of that." What did you mean by that?
Well, a couple things. First, when you hear her words and you see my lived experience, you see your lived experience. So many Americans, millions of us, started in poverty. Frankly, to say 97% of those who are rich today were either middle class or in poverty 2 generations ago. My grandfather was picking cotton. He lived long enough to watch his grandson pick a seat in Congress. That tells me that the story continues. The journey becomes more and more beautiful, more and more amazing. But when you think about the fact that the words that people speak are disconnected from the reality, you hear that inflation is good for people living in poverty. Nothing is further from the truth. You know that baby formula is hard to find, but you knew that several months ago and you did nothing with it. It's almost as if the administration wants us to believe what they are saying as opposed to what we are seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, hear the words out of their mouth, not what we see them doing. And
our lived reality.
By the way, FEMA has back piles of this. Of course they have a stockpile. If there's a hurricane or a tornado, they got to have baby formula.
Absolutely.
What if the hospitals run out because we have a disaster? I mean, it is mind-boggling. That was a good example of that. I want to get to more of your words.
Yes.
I don't know in the time that I have covered you as a journalist that I've ever known you to write so passionately. I want to get to this. You also wrote in your new op-ed in the Washington Post, "If abortion is our first and best answer to ensure that women and low-income families can thrive economically, the United States has reached one of its darkest times in our history." Senator.
There's no doubt that when you think about those words that she spoke and the truth of our existence, we should be leaning into the solution that is our nation and is the story of American evolution. I certainly believe that hard times produces our best results. That frankly, it's
well, that's for everybody. Did you get
Amen.
that?
Yes.
That's so true, because there are a lot of people going through hard times right now.
That's just it.
There's parents with the deficit of baby formula shortage.
We always have hard times. That's just the truth of our existence. It's always tragedy, then triumph. It's always obstacles, then opportunities. It's always problems, then promise. And one of the things that makes me excited about who I am and where we are as a country is that the hardest times I've lived through made me a better person and made me more compassionate towards others. So I hate to hear that those hard times should be eliminated by eliminating my life. That's a stretch, and one that I just have to speak out against.
You know, when President Trump was in office, you and he worked on opportunity zones, and I really got to do the drill down on all of that.
Yes.
Can you explain where we are now? Because there was a lot of money spent. What happened to those areas that, and it wasn't just people of color. I mean, those benefit, high tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely.
I mean, those communities were touched by the fact that somebody was focusing in on them.
One of the silver linings that we can see now looking back at the pandemic is that pre-pandemic, 2019, we saw $29 billion enter into, private sector dollars, by the way, go into the poorest zip codes in America. And because of that, we saw the poverty rate hit the lowest ever recorded in the history of this country. That's the kind of insulation you want going into a pandemic. We saw African-American unemployment below 6% for the first time in the history of the country. We saw wages for the bottom 25% grow faster than the top 25%. So that going into the pandemic actually gave us insulation so that confronting with a global pandemic, people without resources had more money, more opportunity than they had seen in their lifetimes. And frankly, women had a 70-year low in unemployment, which means that, translating into the pandemic, we had more resistance than we would have had it not been for the economic success and the policies of the Trump administration going into that pandemic. So when you talk about the fragility of life and the harshness of circumstances like a global pandemic, we should stand up straight, put our shoulders back, and be confident that we shall survive this too. Not quit in the middle. And it's that resiliency that is a part of the DNA of America that we should be focusing on.
Wow, those are powerful words. Not quit in the middle. Some people would say, and some of them are even doctors I've interviewed, that with the lockdowns and the increasing sort of pressure on the American people to solve the pandemic with their own behavior and not feeding us enough of the true science, that the changes that we were seeing, that was quitting in the middle. Your last quick word.
Well, listen, America's always a solution, not the problem. If we lean in as one American family, we find the greatness that's within us. Unfortunately, pressure typically is necessary to reveal the jewels that we are. And so whether you are talking about African Americans surviving the last few hundred years of American existence and coming out better, whether you're talking about the brokenness of poverty in rural America, whether you're talking about the harshness and the challenges of the pandemic, the one thing we know about the American family, we are better together, we find solutions, and the greatest of our opportunities don't come from Washington. They come from neighborhoods and garages and libraries and apartments where people come up with the most amazing and remarkable results.
Amen. Senator Tim Scott, wow. I have to say, again, covering you, we haven't seen you lean in like this. You're passionate about this, and America gets to benefit by hearing your words and giving us that thing that most of us know, but we need to be reminded of, that we're so much better than the words of someone who doesn't see our potential.
Absolutely.
So much better than that.
Absolutely, Harris.
Senator, thank you for being in focus.
Thank you.